Oh man, that's not a good sign. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here at the stable. In the last two videos, we were working on patching the firewall due to our engine relocation. As you guys know, I wasn't all that happy with the results of the patch panel, but I got a lot of supportive comments in the last video, which made me realize it wasn't really all that bad. So thank you guys. But this video doesn't have anything to do with the firewall. Today, we're gonna be working on this guy, the 5-liter 302 that we are basically building this Mustang around. As you guys know, this was a Facebook Marketplace engine. We drove all the way to Yuma, Arizona to get this. Sadly, we have to crack this bad boy open and check all of the internals. I'll get into why in a sec, but first I have some really cool things to show you guys. Yesterday, I took a late night drive up to Phoenix, Arizona to pick up two different things from two different people. One of them being this guy, another T5 transmission out of a Ford Mustang. And I know what you're thinking, Angel, why do you need another T5? Well, if you've been following along with this build, you'll know that this T5 is nothing more than an empty housing and a scrap pile of pieces. And to top it off, when we were inspecting it, we did find a broken tooth on the counter shaft, and the counter shaft for that transmission is about $200, and that's not even the worst part. The rebuild kit alone is about $300. So total price just to get our T5 up and running is north of $500.
Ouch.
So that's why it was a no-brainer to make a 2-hour drive to pick up this bad boy for $175, which our Patreons knew as soon as we were headed to Phoenix. But let's be real, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. This transmission is out of an 86 Fox Body V8 Mustang, and this one is out of a V6 99 Mustang. So there is some differences that I've noted already, but we'll save that for another video. But wait, there's more. We also picked up a cold case, not the cold case you might be thinking, but a cold case aluminum radiator. I've heard nothing but great things about this brand, and this is where it starts getting good. The person who sold me this radiator was actually a subscriber of this channel. And if you guys know anything about this brand, you know they come at a premium, with the radiators alone being around $300 to $400. But my man Cody sold it to the channel for only 50 bucks. You heard that right. 50 bucks. Cody, you are a saint. Guys, and that's not even the best part yet. If you remember, in one of our previous videos, we stated that we needed a radiator, intake, carburetor, and wiring and fuel tank in order to get this thing started. But Cody also gave us a carburetor. This is a 600 CFM 4-barrel Holley carb, which should be more than enough to power the ScrapStang. Cody, I can't thank you enough. This launches us so far ahead in our build. We have the parts list right here, and Cody, my friend, you just knocked out two major items. The support that this channel has, even at this size, is truly amazing. I can't thank you all enough. Anyway, back to work. We're not gonna be able to do anything with this guy on the ground, so let's take care of that. Hopefully the next time we put these two back together will be when we start it and when it drives. Is there another one? Oh no, it's the dowel pin. Nice. Oops. This time, instead of doing it as a complete assembly, we're going to take it off and put this little spider arm in there first. Let's see if that's easier. And now let's see if it really was easier. If let's see. Might have picked it up too much. Nice. Want to make sure it's, there we go. Guys, sometimes I'm not sure I should be allowed to be doing these things. Yes. I forgot back here we were attached to the head bolts, which we aren't going to be able to do again once we get this engine resealed and put new head gaskets on there, because the bolts are torqued to yield, so once I torque them down, we can't really use them again, which there's a bunch of people that do it. do. This little guy is good for a lot of things, but sometimes it's not powerful enough. All right. The engine is now free from the crane. Also, special thanks to our friend Slow Car Fix for keeping us warm with this episode's coffee. So once again, this is a Ford 302 that we got off of Facebook Marketplace. And the reason I want to crack it open is I don't know what this engine had been through before my ownership. I know it was sitting in somebody's backyard for an undisclosed amount of time. So who knows if it sat uncovered or a dog peed on it or any of the other million options. But what I do know is what happened to it while it was here, and it's not good. So apart from the fact that it's been sitting open without an intake, and it has a ratchet in here, the engine had been sitting on the engine stand right about here. And if we look up, we have an HVAC vent, and this vent, for whatever reason, loves to drop crud. This is just what it has dropped this week. I've seen this thing drop pieces up to an inch in length, and all of that has been falling straight into our motor. You can see all of the valleys and all of the schmoo that's in this oil valley. Our intake valves even have a bunch of crud on them. You can see months worth of stuff that has fallen into this engine, and I can't blame anybody but myself. I put it under there without thinking about it, and I also left it uncovered for who knows how long. But we are here to mend our mistakes and to make it right. So step one, we have to get all of the loose debris and crud that's on there, and the easiest way of doing that is air. That alone made a huge difference. The valley already looks much better. All the dirt and crud that we blew off of it ended up in my lungs. I almost want to leave it alone and call it a day and leave it as is, but I know a lot of stuff has fallen into the distributor holes, as well as all of these little oil galleys. I'm gonna take off these fiberglass nightmares so I don't have to keep touching them. I don't think these are gonna be the headers that we are going to run, but they were $60, so. Oh man. Is it bad if I breathed in a little bit of fiberglass? It wouldn't be the worst thing I've breathed in. Finally. I actually have never opened the valve covers, so I haven't seen any of the internals yet, and I know what some of you are thinking. Angel, you bought the engine and you didn't even inspect it? Well, I drove 4 hours to get it. So even if it had a broken rod, I was gonna take it home regardless. These actually look a lot better than I expected. From my very limited expertise, I can tell this engine was maintained properly. I mean, this gasket even looks new right here. Let's take it a little bit further. So this is my first time Oh, look at that. There's shims. Okay, so that's one thing we definitely need to keep noted on where is what. Nice. Anyway, I was saying this is my first time working on a roller motor. The other one that I had built previously on the channel was a flat tappet engine. We did a full rebuild on that one, as well as a break-in video, so if you guys want to check that out, it's on the channel. In the attempt of trying to keep everything organized, I'm going to label everything just so I don't put anything on backwards or have any leftover bolts. With the head mostly disassembled, I'm not gonna take off the valves because there's no need. God. Okay, we need a longer bar. I'm gonna show you guys one of my secrets. One of the tools I use the most for situations like these where you don't have enough leverage and you might not have a breaker bar. This guy, this piece of high tech right here. It's just the bottom of a crutch that I found somewhere sometime. We just pop it on and look at this, variable length. Look at that, easy peasy. I'm just gonna break them all loose and then I'll hit them with the impact. Once again, these are torqued to yield, so oh my God. I think I just jinxed myself because I've been using this thing since my first Mustang and only now has it bent. Well, with the crutch now out of commission, time to bust out the big guns. I call her Big Bertha. Nothing gets in the way of Big Bertha. Now we can just zip them off. I don't like how that one came out. I'm getting a very weird smell from this engine. Almost smells like burnt oil. Alrighty folks, now we get to see how heavy this guy is and possibly need another hernia surgery. Wow, that guy is nasty. All right, now this makes me really glad we opened this guy up. You can see that the pistons are covered in carbon, which is not too bad. It's kind of to be expected. But look at all this junk that made it all the way down into the cylinders. I don't think these are the original pistons, but it's a good sign that we don't see any damage to the head gasket with blow-throughs or anything like that. If there were damage, we would see a really burnt mark somewhere, probably like in between the water passages and the cylinder, but it's not looking too bad. Never mind, guys, I'm dumb. There isn't even a head gasket on here. The head gasket is probably still stuck onto the head, but right here you can see roughly how we're organizing everything. God, this thing is heavy. Yeah, the head gasket is on here. So the heads aren't looking too bad either. It's more carbon deposits than anything. I can also tell these heads have been worked on before because you see little things like this where the valves are marked 1, 2, missing 4. So by what we can see, this isn't the first time that this engine has been cracked open. And this is also the point where an engine teardown can get really expensive. Because at this point you start thinking, well, I'm already here, I might as well just take out the pistons. Well, I'm already here, I might as well have the block machined. Well, I'm already here, I might as well install a new cam. Well, I'm already here, I might as well upgrade the pistons and the rods. Stop. Don't let those intrusive thoughts win unless you have the time and the budget to do so, which in our case, we don't. The plan is to just make sure everything is okay and reseal it. We could at minimum have the heads resurfaced, but that also costs money. But frankly, in this case, I don't even think it's necessary. Anyway, on the very bright side, our cylinder walls are looking amazing. They look very clean, no scoring, and you could even still see some of the cross hatching. So passenger side bank, so far, so good. So I was thinking about it, and you guys already saw me do this once. Probably don't want to see me do it again, so why don't we just make a cool time lapse instead? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cool, so we have the driver's side of the engine undressed. Wow, there is a lot of junk in here, probably less than the other side, but you can see how just having the intake open allows all this stuff to fall into the cylinders. These cylinder walls look really nice as well. There is a lot of the cross hatching still. So far so good on the disassembly and on the internals. The only thing that is concerning me is that there is a very horrific smell, like burnt oil, but we haven't seen anything concerning yet. So we're not gonna jump into conclusions. Instead, we're gonna keep going. Oh, it's pooping. Oh, cool. The oil pan sits perfectly on the engine stand where it's not touching the ground where it already pooed. And it's kind of good that it's draining, because if it's draining downwards, it's pulling the dirt out from inside and pushing it outside rather than the other way around, pushing it inward. Anyway, I like that it has this plate right here that goes all along the oil pan, because this way it will ensure even pressure on the entire oil pan rather than having pressure points on each thing pushing the gaskets out, which I've had trouble with before. Holy RTV, man. That's definitely not gonna leak. All right, let's see what we got going on in here. This thing has so much RTV around it, it's basically glued into place. I doubt it even needed the bolts to hold it. I'm sure it could have held itself. And I do not like prying on these in fear of bending them. So we're gonna lightly give it some love. Nor do we want to score it. Oh man, this oil pan is in there better than I thought. Just unstick already. Ah, voila. God, whoever put this rear main seal in, I get it, you didn't want it to leak, but you made it impossible for it to come out. There we go. Wow. It's always so cool to see the internals of an engine. Whoa, what is this? If this is metal, then it's bad. I found this little piece of something in there, and if it sticks to this magnet, that's a problem. Well, I'm calling upon the engine experts to tell me where this piece came from. Can't seem to find any like missing piece on the block or on any of the components. So by the look of this smooth spherical surface and this almost perfect hole, I'm assuming this has something to do with the push rods, because it's almost a perfect shape right here. Same thing for the oil pass through right here. Oh man, that's not a good sign. I'm looking for any more gremlins that might be in here, but I'm not seeing anything. The pieces I am seeing are the RTV that I pushed in there when I took off the oil pan. Nothing fell out either. So I am very confused here as to where this piece came from. I'm about 99% positive that this piece is from a rocker arm, but all of our rocker arms don't have any pieces missing from them. I am almost positive that it is this piece of a rocker arm. As you can see, it has the perfect spherical shape again, and that drilled hole. Yeah, it looks exactly the same as this. But the weird thing is that none of our rocker arms are missing that piece or have it broken off, which is throwing me further into a spin, because where in the hell did this piece come from? The only two things that should have this shape are the rocker arms and the lifters. But I've already gone and inspected every single one of them, and none of them are broken or missing any pieces, which just makes this even more confusing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very confused here. I'm trying to be optimistic here, but I also have to be realistic and question where that piece came from. Because one thing I did do when I went to pick up the engine was rotate the engine, and everything spun freely. There was no weird noises, and no, I'm not spinning this dry. I sprayed some lubricant in there so I could rotate it right now. So the engine spins freely. There's no kadunks or weird noises going on. There is no metal shavings in the pickup tube, just some RTV, surprise, surprise. There is no broken pieces in the rotating assembly. Oh, cool, we have a double timing chain. And there is no signs of damage on the rockers nor any of the other parts that we removed. The realistic part of me knows that it's unlikely that that piece was floating around in the engine without causing any damage. But the optimist in me is saying that it was just sitting at the bottom of the oil pan. For whatever reason, when this engine was rebuilt in the past, they didn't clean the engine right and left that piece in there from a previous broken rocker that caused the engine rebuild in the first place. Which, if that piece was bouncing around in the rotating assembly, it would have caused a lot of damage and we would see more metal shavings or metal chunks in here. You guys gotta tell me what you think in this situation, because I am at a complete loss here. The engine itself has no signs whatsoever of damage, nor does the valve train. I don't know. I am damn near positive that this is a piece from a previous rocker arm. I am not positive as to why it was in there, nor if it caused any damage. On that very confusing note, we are going to have to end the video right here and reassess in the next. Also, in the next video, we're gonna be adding all the new names of our newest Patreons onto the quarter panel. So if you want your name on the ScrapStang, here's the link. Thank you guys, I'll see you on the next one. We are uploading at a higher frequency, but if you guys want some more content in between videos, you'll find it right here.